We are trying to build total personal intelligence. We are trying to build total personal intelligence. We are trying to build the most urgent necessity of our life, the most urgent necessity of life, me, myself. And in doing so, we are trying to create opportunities for our growth. And as we grow, we want to measure where we are growing, how we could grow. So, what I was, what I am, what I can be, what I will be. These are the four generations of life. These are the four generations of life. What I was, what I am, what I could be, and what I will be. The first two phases, the first phase is already over. The second phase is ongoing, but it is steadily passing into history. Steadily passing into history as the moment goes into history. We have passed into history. So that is could be our world is now divided between what I could be and what I will be. What I will be when no interference of mine, and what I could be with the interference of mine. Now that mine is also the same mine as is getting interfere. That is getting steadily growing. Okay, that is also mine. That's also me. I understand that. But there's part of me which is controllable, and we will try and see what action we can take against our own motives, against our own engine of life, against our own aspirations, against our own desires, what action we can take. So it's a mammoth inside operation. But I don't insist on operation at this stage. Let us do the diagnostics first. Like a good doctor, he will not throw yellow and red medicine. He will not push into your, he will not want you to gut down the red liquid and the yellow liquid. Now he wants the diagnostic, and then only the medicine. The diagnostic will tell you the kind of disease, and the medicine will give you a relief from that. So it's going to be a pinpointed, sharp shooting with respect to what you are and the problems that get created by virtue of that combination of the things we are. So ingredients. Now I'd like to bring in a bit of a chemistry. Would you believe if I represent chemistry properly to you, it'll enter your repertoire as one of the most liked subjects. One of the most liked subject. Mechanical engineering, you get to see the things. Electrical engineering, you get to see many, many more things. But chemical engineering is about synthesis, and you'll never be able to witness that synthesis. You can only see the after effects, post effects, and that's very dangerous. It's like many, many diseases in our body which keep growing, and we feel those are all benign things, and suddenly you get a bad message. Suddenly you get a bad message. So we are looking at that synthesis through an angle of a chemical engineer, yes, truly, a fanatic chemist, yes, truly. It's a very intricate science, it's a very subtle science. And the use of the word chemistry, we have it. There's an on screen chemistry, there's an off screen chemistry, two very different things. There is an on site chemistry between husband and wife in the parties, etc., etc. There is an off site chemistry at homes. There's a chemistry between your car and you. So you don't have to take to somebody else's driving wheel. You don't like to take it. There's a chemistry between mother and child. There's chemistry between father and child. There's a chemistry between the bowler and the batsman. There's a chemistry between umpire and the bowler. There's a chemistry between umpire and the batsman. There's a chemistry between this umpire and the third umpire. What have you? There's a chemistry between a spinach and a child, an adult and a child, an anemic and a child. There's a chemistry between a chocolate and a child, and a diabetes and a chocolate, and a diabetic and a chocolate, and the diabetic with diabetes. Come off it. Dear friends, come off it. Come to an adult platform of learning. Try and achieve a bit of a comprehension in whatever you know. Don't limit yourself to the first page of knowledge. Probably the whole book is there. There's a chemistry, and that chemistry is going to happen now between two. That chemistry is now going to happen between two elements that are within me. I don't have to go out. I don't have to go out necessarily to strike a chemistry between me and someone else. There's already a lot of chemistry between the two traits that we carry. Two traits we carry. There are umpteen number of husbands who don't like to see a certain combination in their dinner plate. They like individually, but combination, it's a wastage. You would say probably one of the two things you'll take out. It's that I'll have this tomorrow. That can happen. Between 5 or 6 ingredients that usually you eat during the dinner table, I'm talking about the Indian dietary habits. In the Western world, they have probably 2 or 3. That's enough. That's enough. So these ingredients are like the elements, what we call the elements. These are like elements. So these are the elements. In literary English, they say or expression called man in his elements. Okay, I don't know how much that is related here. It'll be interesting to see the collaboration between this element and that element, the man in his elements. Okay, when the batsman is getting into the ball ferociously, so he's in his elements. When the striker is playing with the ball, is circusing with the ball, you can call it the man in his elements. The man in his elements. So what are these elements in the typecast chemistry, in the classical chemistry? What are the elements? There's oxygen, there's nitrogen, there's hydrogen, there's fluorine, there's chlorine, there's sulfur, there's carbon. The entire carbon chemistry is there. These are the elements. These are the elements. Now what we do? These elements will create a certain compound. Have you ever used chlorine gas in its elemental state? Very rarely. It's used only in industrial operations. But we use chlorine in different as chloride in many places. Chlorine as chloride. We use chlorine as chloride in many places. and sulfur as sulfide in many places, and nitrogen as nitrate in many places, and oxygen as oxides in many places, and carbon as carbohydrate in many places. Carbons and carbohydrates in many places. That builds the story of the world. That is building the story of the world. That is building the story of the world, the universe, and the complications, all these elements put together. So if me is a universe, you are a universe, it's built by something. So may we say now, very safely and very surely and very dedicatedly, may we say that what I behave and how I behave as is seen by others, behave, or as I notice it, is made of some elements. And my outward action, thought, is a compound. And my outward thought and action is a compound. My outward thought and action is a compound. It is made of that element, and compounds would be very difficult to handle because it has gone through a synthesis, and that synthesis is a very subtle reaction. I don't know. It's only by practice and practice and practice I'll be able to detect what that synthesis is. And it will require further practice and practice and practice to unwind that synthesis, if at all I am able to do it, or if at all I find it needful. If at all I find it needful. Otherwise, synthesis is beyond our control. Let us play with elements, therefore, and decide which element to add where, and hopefully make a performance out of it. I'm sorry to use the word performance because it is more close to competency. We'll stick to the word behaviors. I'm sorry about fast forwarding few issues. So let us try and assault these elements to create a performance. Are you getting to understand chemistry from a different perspective? And are you getting to understand how good a chemist we need to be? How good a chemist we need to be to extract performance from ourselves? Why leave it to coaches? Why leave it to masters? Why do we leave it to teachers? We have to extract performance from ourselves. Reason number one, only you know what elements you are. I assume you know. If you don't know, I express very urgently, you better know. When you know it better, when better you know it, you are aiming to be near total personal intelligence. Is that too ambitious? Near total? Okay, half total personal intelligent is better than nothing. Currently, we have no provision, no school, no institution, no course has taught us to be total personal intelligent. Nothing has taught us. Some of us had some mentors, spiritual mentors, luckily, And these days, spiritual mentors could mean all kinds of things, you know. They could be more of a religious following than the kind of following we are talking about. It could mean any kind of thing. But in the parlance of the purity of the substance and purity of the operation, if there is somebody, a mentor available, probably he's the only person who can tell you how to be personally intelligent and promise you that you are very resourceful. You're not as thin, as small, as frail, as weak as you think you are. So let's get on to the task of discovering our resource. Now we have elements to look at, to simulate with, right? So we will go on and on, on and on. Thank you very much for being part of this discourse. Okay, I enjoyed talking to you all this while. See you again.